Disclaimer, if you do not want your friends to groan every time they see you play Hashaton, do not build this deck that I'm about to talk to you guys about, because this may be the most toxic Hashaton deck I've ever seen. And thanks to everyone else in the world creating deck lists, I got the opportunity to see a lot about how other people were building Hashaton. And you know, the way we do things on these channels, we have to build decks that are unique, because I am a hipster and we just got to do something different for the sake of being different. However, Hashaton does do something in Magic the Gathering that I've been wanting to do in Magic for years, and I think it kind of breaks the normal idea of the game, because this Hashaton deck, if you'll notice, is a discard deck, which basically means that our opponents are going to be forcing themselves to discard cards from their hand. And the reason that's important is because discard generally happens on the turn of the player that is forcing people to discard. I also have another discard deck. You can see the video over here. That discard deck is my Grim Reaper Tribal discard deck that you can see. That's a very fun deck to play. But my point is that you're only generally discarding on your opponent's or on your own turn, which means that as our opponents play their turns, that they still have the ability to draw cards and play cards, which in a discard deck, you just want people to sit there and not do anything, right? That's the point of a discard deck. But Hashaton lets you discard a creature card whenever, and then you can pay 3 mana and put a token copy of it onto the battlefield. So in other words, as my opponent draws a card, I could go ahead and discard a Burglar Rat, use Hashaton's ability to create a 4/4 copy of this 1/1, and have each opponent discard a card, so that the card that they drew for turn, I immediately force them to discard. And now they can't play, which feels really bad, but feels really good for me. And I just like the ability to, you know, make this 2/1 that normally costs 3 mana anyway, and I can make a 4/4 shadow creature that forces each player to discard a card when it deals combat damage to a player. I mean, these cards stink, dude, but it's still, to me, it's fantastic, dude. I just think getting these cards onto the battlefield early feels amazing. And, you know, along with the cards that we have over here, dude, this Necrogoyf is crazy good. Look, at the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player discards a card. So we want to be discarding anyway, so why not just discard with this? It just works. And this also has Madness. So we could discard this card for 3 mana and then pay 3 mana with Hashaton to get a copy of it, and then pay the 3 mana over here, and then just put it onto the battlefield. So for 6 mana, we're going to get 2 creatures at the beginning of each player's upkeep. We're going to force them to discard 2 cards, which is horrible. And then we have a Necrogen Mists that is in Italian, but you can trust me, does the same exact thing as the Necrogoyf. This reads the same way: at the beginning of each player's upkeep, discard a card. Very good. I might take this card out of the deck. I don't like the idea of having to pay 2 mana to discard a card, to draw a card. We have this Cabal Initiate, discard a card, gains lifelink, whatever. This is just an early game free discard outlet, which feels good. Tortured Existence. You know, I was lucky to get a whole bunch of these cards prior to Hashaton releasing, so I was able to add it to the deck, which is cool. We have Scourge Familiar, probably my favorite card in the entire deck, because it gives us black mana for discarding a card. So we could discard a creature, pay 3, get a copy, and then generate that black mana. And then if we were at 5 mana, we would have 2 normally. We gained the 1 here, now we're back to 3, which means that I can discard another one. I can put another creature into play, and when you do that, it feels amazing. Scourge Familiar, get a copy of this card. Undertaker, we can pay black, discard a card, cool. Return creature card from a graveyard to your hand, amazing. So that if I want to get a copy of this Burglar Rat again, to force somebody to discard again, I can just keep bouncing this to the hand, similarly like I could with the Tortured Existence, which feels horrible for our opponents, and they may throw up. We have the Underworld Cookbook, we can discard a card early game. Feels good to start the game with this inside your hand because you know the moment you play Hashaton, you can go ham. Then we have Key to the City, same exact thing as the other one, discard a card. Also gives a creature unblockable, which is amazing because we're making 4/4s. The Witch King of Angmar over here, a free discard outlet, 5 mana, but my point is here is it also has whenever creature does combat damage to us, each one sacrifices a creature dealt combat damage to us, which is cool. May take that card out. Nezahal may take this out, but it says we have no maximum hand size. I don't know if that's ever gonna matter. I guess it would sometimes, but whenever opponent draw or cast a non-creature spell, we draw a card, which always feels good. And if we can cheat out that instead of getting 7 mana, we pay 3 mana for this, great. We have an All-Seeing Arbiter and an Overlord of the Pits. Both cards basically do the same thing. Enter an attack, draw 2 cards, discard a card. They both have flying, so these are technically both flying 4/4s that allow us to discard, but more importantly, draw a couple cards. Just feels good. And then we have your Obsessive Stitchers to draw and discard, Merfolk Looter, draw and discard, and then Rona to draw and discard as well. Now, those cards over there help us to discard. These cards force our opponents to discard their cards, whether we're dealing damage to them or having them just enter the battlefield. And then we need ways to profit, and then these are just the cards that I think are generically just the best inside the deck. These cards just work really well. Geth's Grimoire, whenever opponent discards a card, we're gonna draw a card, which feels super good. Waste Not, which is basically just another version of this card. We're getting bonuses off of forcing our opponent to discard cards. A Palace Siege, which has nothing to do with discard, but says at the beginning of our upkeep, we can return a creature from our graveyard to our hand, which feels amazing when we're forcing people to discard cards. Sangromancer feels fantastic. Oh my god, I was able to play Hashaton, right? Discard this, make a 4/4 copy of this, and then play a Burglar Rat to force everyone to discard, and then I gain 9 life, which is just so good, dude. And then we have a Notion Thief over here, which doesn't, if our opponent's drawing extra cards, we draw those cards instead, which is really mean. We get a 4/4 copy of this, so you pay 1 less mana. Consecrated Sphinx, I mean, this card just speaks for itself. Draw a card, we draw 2. Amazing. Archfiend of Ifnir, a literal just basic board wipe. We can just discard cards at will to force our opponents to not have cards in their creatures on the battlefield. I mean, I added this. This is technically like we can pay 6 mana and then get 6 mana and 8 life. We can get 2 8/4 creatures on the battlefield and force our opponents to sacrifice 2 creatures for 6 mana, get 16 power. I don't know. I might take this card out, but I still think it's really cool. We have Sun Titan just because Sun Titan feels amazing inside this deck, where we're just returning the Burglar Rat from our graveyard. I think I need to add some sacrifice outlets to the deck that makes sense. Maybe some good creatures that have sacrifice outlets, just so that I can continue to do that over and over again. This card over here, I don't see anybody talking about. That I found this in my collection. Whenever we discard an online card, we can cast it from our graveyard, so that I can discard the Burglar Rat, make a 4/4 copy of it, and then pay 2 mana to get the Burglar Rat back onto the battlefield, which feels horrible for our opponents. And then we have Sheldred, the Whispering One. So at the beginning of our upkeep, we're gonna take a creature from our graveyard, put it back onto the battlefield, which feels amazing. And then our opponents have to sack a creature at the beginning of their upkeep, which is horrible. And then we have the Peregrine Drake, which is important because with the Peregrine Drake, this enters the battlefield untapped up to 5 lands. And if we combine the Peregrine Drake with the Tortured Existence, we're going to be able to generate an infinite amount of mana here. I don't know what we would do with the mana. I haven't thought that far about that, but that's basically what it would be. So that's what I have. So this video exists because my community in a separate video asked for this deck list, and this is not complete. This is a rough draft. This is the first time I've built this. The deck list is in the description below. So I want you to let me know what you think, and if you have any ideas for cards to add to this, I am asking and pleading for you to type that in the comment section below so that we can make this the most toxic Hashaton build. on the internet. And what I'm looking forward to doing is reading your comments so that in the future I can make the official deck tech and the official deck list, so that you guys can, like this build right here, what you see in the description, that deck list, I do not advise that you build that deck. You can take ideas from it, but I would just advise that if you're gonna build it like straight up, wait for the next video so that you have something that's more complete, because this is just a work in progress, okay? So I appreciate your helping me build this commander deck, and your support for telling me you wanted me to make this video, okay? Keep in mind that I do have a Discord community below, and if you want to become a part of that, to talk to me and just to hang out with all the people in our Discord, you have access to that in the Discord below. I'm also starting a series where I'm playing against you in 1v1 games of commanders. So if you want to play a game against me or challenge me, literally challenge me right now if you want to play against me. If you want to play against this deck in a 1v1 situation, challenge me in the comment section below. You could also join the Discord. There is a challenge tab that you can write text into to tell me, Coach, I challenge you to a game of 1v1 commander, to which I will oblige, and we will play an awesome game with the twist that I think people are gonna have a lot of fun doing, that I'm keeping to myself so people don't take my ideas, okay? So always remember, everybody, eat healthy, okay? Work out every single day. Most important, you guys got to remember to believe in yourself, all right? Peace out, people.